Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Talking Reds. I am Stu, your host, and I'm joined tonight by Naj. How are you doing, mate?
Well, how are you, Stu?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Very well, in fact. And obviously, we are here tonight to discuss the latest transfer goings on, ins and outs of what's happening with Liverpool. And even though things have quietened down a smidge since our major splurge, things are still rumbling on in the background, and there has been a few news stories coming out today, namely about Diaz. Obviously, we've had the introduction to Mamardashvili coming over, Kwanzaa leaving, coaching or backroom staff changes going on as well. But before we discuss all that, make sure you do leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I believe we are around about 789, 790 at the moment, well on the way to push for a 1K sub mark. And also, don't forget to leave any comments in the chat. We are obviously live, so chat away. Stick your opinions in there, and we'll have a discussion about it. But yeah, firstly, I'm actually going to go on to the smaller subjects first. Mamardashvili is on his way, or wherever he's flying from, he should be in England right now.
Yeah.
Let's face it. I'm presuming, I haven't read too much into this, that he's just going to finish the bits and pieces that he needs to do at the club and then starts next week along with the rest of the squad. That's what I'm presuming. I don't know what, Naj, have you read anything more about it at all?
No, I think it's just general flying in, gets
housekeeping sort of thing.
Yeah, get settled in.
Right. I think I did see some. I had one little article pop up here, and saw the picture of him on the plane with his agent. So he's looking very comfortable and very happy there. So at the end of the day, we all knew it was coming. One little thing that really did annoy me that I saw on Sky the other day when they were totting up what we have spent, they added his price on. Didn't like that. We paid for that last season.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people saying that it activated this season and stuff like that. So my question is, why on earth was it included in last season's
and this one?
And this one, like it makes we paid 70 odd million for him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense to me. 60 odd million, shall I say? 60 was he 30? Oh, it's 34 million, or was he 30?
I think it's between 30 and 35. So round about that mark, which for a keeper of that quality is an absolute steal, in my opinion.
I mean, look, I think Sky with the graphics are belters at the minute. Like, I uploaded a video yesterday of Chelsea squad from last year, and the absolute pelts I've got off that. People going, but these are under 21 players, and these are from because it was all like
yeah.
And I've just been like, listen, do you know where I got the graphic from? The graphics from Sky Sports. So don't
blame them.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Exactly. But that seems to be Sky all over at the moment. I don't know whether they feel like they're losing ground on the other commentators through social media because everybody seems to be getting the jump on them at the moment. So I don't know whether they're feeling the pressure a little bit and trying to just stoke things up. Try and get a little bit of the click traction going on, sort of thing. But anyway, it doesn't really matter because with Mamardashvili, it was a done deal anyway. So it's not really anything worth talking about. The fact that he is on his way and he looks happy to be here. So it's the start of a new chapter and hopefully a new number one once Alisson moves out the way. So he's definitely not taking his spot. That's for certain.
No.
Speaking of goalkeepers, though, seems like we've had a bit of a turnaround in the coaching staff as well. I didn't realise this was actually happening, but Taffarel has left after 4 years at the club. And one of our old goalkeeping coaches, Valero, who used to work under Benitez, has come in. And also Van Bronckhorst has joined as an assistant manager or assistant coach to Slot as well. What do you think of those appointments?
I mean, the whole staff thing, I think people are worried about it a lot. And there's that means Alisson's going and stuff like that. I don't think it does. I think if people are forgetting that Alisson was there 3-4 years before Taff come in.
Exactly.
And, I think Taff's been unreal, honestly. Like with what he's done with the goalkeepers, like Keller has come through, unbelievable how well he's done. And we've not seen much of Jaros, but obviously with his previous loans, he won the league with Sturm Graz, didn't he?
Yes.
Gone out of Ajax now to be Ajax's first team goalkeeper. Pasvier's obviously getting on a bit. He's gone out to be Ajax's first choice apparently.
Yep.
So he's done really well with the keepers. Obviously, that Brazilian connection is always obviously going to be there with Alisson and what's the lad called? Pigita? Is that his name?
Oh God, yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head. Pitluga. It was.
That's it, Pitluga. Yeah. So like, there's obviously that strong connection there, and obviously the keeper's done really well under him. But I presume it's more not that Slot's told him to go or anything like that. I think it's been something that's probably been happening for a while because, do you know he has? Have you seen how many kids he has? By the way, this is what I'm going to get. This is what I'm trying to make a point of. 17 kids.
What?
17 kids.
Wow.
So I think it's personal that he's going back to Brazil. And I think that's all it is because he was I've read a lot that he was traveling a lot. He'd travel home when Liverpool didn't have games, international breaks, he'd be home for that entire time. I think it's just one of them. He's getting on a little bit now. Go for your life with your kids or
it's one of those like I mean, I can't remember how old he is. I know he's like sort of I think he's
about 60.
About 60. I mean, okay. You want to be home at the end of the day. I get it. His contract probably just ran out and he probably thought, right, okay, now's the right time to go back home and probably semi-retire. May even go and work with Ancelotti in the Brazil national team. Who knows?
Yeah. Definitely like that. Yeah, I think something could happen like that. I think, people like when you're coaching and you're like a foreign coach, like I think it takes a toll on a lot of them, and they do want to retire or go home and stuff like that. I think that's what the case is with Taff. People are panicking too much about it. Don't worry, Alisson's still here. He's not going anywhere. And
the goalkeeping coach we brought in to replace him is no stranger to the club. He worked under Benitez. He worked with the likes of Dudek as well. And since then, I mean, we're talking about 15, 20 years further down the line in his own coaching career. And apparently it's turned into like one of the best goalkeeping coaches in the world.
Yeah.
Now, so again, not only are we getting Van Bronckhorst, who is one of the most respected defensive or fullback coaches in Europe, but we're also getting one of the best goalkeeping coaches. So we're not only doing it on the pitch and bringing in amazing players, but we're also bringing in, for one of a better term, superstar coaches.
Yeah.
As well. It's looking pretty decent, isn't it?
Dutch connections get a lot stronger, isn't it?
It is a little bit. I do suspect that Liverpool may end up playing in Euro 2028. As the Dutch national side, that could happen. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, as I said, Xavi Valero and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, both very, very experienced coaches. Obviously, Van Bronckhorst has been a manager as well, so he gets to bring that in. Obviously, we have to bring somebody in to replace Heitinger because he's obviously gone over to Ajax now. I think they're sensible, really good appointments looking at it. So I don't see any issues on the backroom team for this season at all.
I really like the fact that we've gone and got Van Bronckhorst. Like, I think he's, like you say, like he's very good in defensive-minded coach.
The fullback area is where he specialises.
I think it's just a good appointment. Like, you could, I think with Slot, I said this on a previous stream. I think I think Klopp listened more to, I don't know this personally, but I get the feeling that Slot is very, like, he'll take things what people say and then he'll implement them.
Yeah.
Klopp would rather, like, so say Pat Linda said, "Oh, this is what we're going to do." Klopp would be like, "All right, yeah, you go and do it then." That's how we'll set up for this game. That's how we'll set up for this. I think Slot has already got the picture in his head. And then, little tweaks that he can make in the game, then he'd probably use them sort of, input from the coach in that way rather than.
I think we're still, as fans, we're starting to understand how Slot's mind works a little bit, especially after this season. I think you're right, actually. Like, sort of, the style in management is chalk and cheese, completely. And I think you're right when saying, like, we're starting to see him bringing in, obviously, his coaching team for last season. He's brought in Van Bronckhorst now. Great experience as an international, as a player, and as a manager and coach as well. And he will take snippets, ideas, and implement them himself in his own way.
Yeah.
Again, we saw that last season with his tactics.
Yeah.
How he could change games like that, and he wasn't afraid to like sub star players off, namely Trent being one of them. But he showed that, and I think bringing in somebody like Van Bronckhorst will only solidify.
Yeah, I think as well with the two fullbacks we've obviously just got. Like I think Kirkes is a little bit more defensively better than Frimpong, but
a little bit more raw, I would say, as well because of his age.
Yeah, and I think with Van Bronckhorst coming in, like a 24 and 21-year-old to work with in them fullbacks, and Bradley. Let's not forget Bradley, 20.
Yep.
There's so much development there in them players still, even though Frimpong is a lot further in his career than the other two. I think it's definitely something that's going to be good for the fullbacks and Van Bronckhorst as well. Like he's got that like demeanor about him, hasn't he? He's very like, I mean, he was not a bad manager actually. I'm not gonna.
He was all right, but as a player, I mean, I don't know whether you remember him as a player or not.
Briefly.
As a player, he was. I would go as far to say probably one of the best fullbacks in Europe at his height. Yeah. He was excellent, and he had a hell of a foot on him.
Yeah,
he could ping it around and he could hit a shot, but he could defend really well as well. And I think that is what will he'll put into the likes of Kirkes. Maybe not so much Frimpong because I think he's just a slightly different style, but I definitely think he'll work because he was left back as well.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly. Working with Kirkes, especially, I bet he's licking his lips at that because he's like, I know I could train him to be a better left back, hopefully morph him into one of the best left backs in the world.
Well, the thing with Kirkes, he's got that ceiling, and that's nothing to say. Like he has really got like an incredible ceiling. Like forget that he comes to the Premier League at 19. He was in AC Milan's academy. He won't get a chance at AC Milan. Went to AZ Alkmaar. I've seen people, a Twitter account I follow called Moby. You might know it.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah.
Tweeted about it when he was at AZ Alkmaar. He said, Liverpool should take a look at this Kirkes lad. He looks like a decent player. And like the progression he's made at a team that, let's face it, are not anywhere near challenging for anything, really.
No.
I mean, he did excellent up until about January. He sort of faded off. But he's played for a team at Bournemouth. They got a really small fan base, and he's excelled like to the best left back in the Premier League last season.
Yep.
And that's what I mean. If you're best, like the best in the last season, you've got to progress on that. I think the move to Liverpool as well will suit him so down to the ground. I said this to a few people the other day. I was saying this. They probably agree with me on this. I'm a massive fan of Aït-Nouri, and I think he's a good player, but as soon as Kirkes come on the scene, sort of maybe possibly the end of last season, start of this season, I was like, we've got to get him.
He jumped ahead. Yeah. I was like, yeah.
We've got to get him. And then people like Anti Robinson was like, no, he's too old. But I said, we've got to get him. And then we've got him now. And I just think it's such a good move because his attributes are so similar to what we've had in the past in Robertson. We can even get him to like prime Robertson levels. We've got a serious player on our hands. Haven't
we just? I mean, that is the exciting thing about it, and that's what the likes of Van Bronckhorst will get out of the fullbacks. I would say to an extent he'll get something like that out of Frimpong, but Frimpong's a very different style sort of fullback. Moving on to next point as well. Actually, I just wanted to say a quick thank you to Quanta because obviously it's been confirmed fully today that he is a Leverkusen player. He put out a nice little statement on Instagram, which I thought was quite touching. And I hope it works out for him. And I hope it works out for all parties because at the end of the day, he was touted to be potentially a starting centre-back for us a few more years down the line. Now he's taking this opportunity at Leverkusen. I say good luck to him. Fingers crossed it works out. And you never know, in a couple of years' time, he may well be back.
Yeah.
So, look at the comments quickly here. LFC fan, Isak Fofana, Zaire Emery and Gay. Wow, that's a shopping list. When you say Fofana, I'm presuming you mean Malik Fofana, not Datro from Chelsea. Zaire Emery would be a dream DM, but I don't think we have any chance of that, him being a Parisian, so I think he will stay there. Nothing else on there. So let's have a look at the main subject of the evening. Actually, no, before we do, there was something that popped up on Twitter, and this caught me by surprise a little bit. Liverpool apparently offering a swap deal of Darwin, Nunez, and Chiesa plus 17 million for Osimhen.
Seen that as well. Yeah.
I look, the feeling I've got with this is that it just feels more of a clickbaity title.
Yeah.
More than anything, because I was over the understanding that Osimhen's valuation, he had a release clause around about 65 to 70 million, something like that. And we've been bartering with Napoli to get 55 million to 60 million for Nunez, and we valued Chiesa about 15 to 20. So if we were going to give Nunez and Chiesa plus 17 million on top, that's well over Osimhen's valuation. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I think it's clickbait. I think it was clickbait.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to give it too much airtime, but I thought I'd bring it up just in case.
Yeah,
there was any, like, so whether you've seen any more articles on it, any more legitimacy. I mean, personally, I rate Osimhen. I really do. I think great striker. And I think there is a bit of a misconception about what his attitude and stuff like that, considering the abuse that he suffered in Italy whilst winning the league title. I don't understand that at all. It baffles me. But there is no way that we'd be swapping Nunez and Chiesa, who have a combined valuation of about 80 million, plus another 17 million on top for Osimhen, when, nah, not happening. Not happening. Although, LFC fan, you've put a little comment in. Osimhen's course expires on the 15th. Ah, right, okay. That makes it a little bit more interesting. So there's only a couple of weeks left on that before it expires. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Arsenal going for him.
Nah, Chelsea do it. They need another striker.
Yeah, fair one. Fair one. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, on to the main topic of conversation for this evening. It's Diaz. And Diaz, bit of a bloody enigma, actually, over the last few weeks. We've had Barcelona sniffing around. We've had the Saudis sniffing around. Then we've had Liverpool saying to Barcelona, no, he is not for sale. Then we're hearing reports that obviously he's only got 2 years left on his contract, but it doesn't look like we're going to be forthcoming on giving him a new contract. And then we've got the links to Bayern Munich from the other day, and now Saudis are popping back up again. And from what I understand, the club have actually put a valuation of like 85 million euros on him, hopefully to force clubs away and not be interested. But if the Saudis are sniffing around, and I did read before I came online that it looks like the Saudis are adjusting their budgets to pump more money into the football side of things, and that meaning more transfer budgets.
Yeah.
As if they haven't got enough already, but more money going in there because they're trying to build on this little bit of success from the Club World Cup that they had. Sorry, Man City. But that's the way they're looking at it. And if they are serious, they could quite easily cough up the 85 million euros, no problem. And I don't think it would be a problem with the contract side of things. So, Naj, what the hell is going on?
I mean, I've always been on the side that keep Diaz. I think he's too valuable in terms of, you know, his contract's not a lot. If you're going to sign someone, you're going to be giving them.
Did see something on his according to reports, he's on about 140 grand a week, which I actually thought was a lot less than that.
I've heard it's 55.
Well, yeah, so a lot of people have replied to this saying, oh, we actually thought, and I'm sure I saw it on one of the Premier League wages databases, that he was below the 100 mark. I'm sure he was. But I could have misread it, possibly. But
well, I just think, you know, Nunez gets a lot of Diaz, with a Z, the better one with the Z at the end. Yeah, I think he has too much stick. I've said this loads of times. Like, you know, going out and buying a striker for Liverpool would not striker winger would be sort of just. I think it'd be a bit daft, really. I mean, I love Gakpo. I think he's great. I think he's fantastic. But can Gakpo play 50 games a year? The answer's no. He can't. He's just too much. You know, having the competition with them two as well is brilliant because it's good because they're two completely different players. Like, when Diaz is on it, he's unbelievable, and when Gakpo's unbelievable, but they're still different. Gakpo's very direct, cuts in, shoots. He's very good at that, and then back post runs. I think Gakpo's a lot better. I think in terms of taking on a man and just gliding past them, Diaz is the man.
Yeah.
His pressing as well is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I don't know what the running he does in a game is ludicrous. Like, he must run more than anyone else on that pitch. Well, apart from Szoboszlai,
but why Gakpo makes up for that is his technical control.
Yeah,
I think Gakpo technically is better.
Yeah, I agree. He's like Diaz got a bit of a skill in him as well. I'd say like they're just different, aren't they? Like better. Luis Diaz is better, like skillfully, if you like. They're just so different. I like the competition, but I think selling him's just daft because we've got Rio waiting in the wings.
Yeah,
so I think what will happen is, sort of the fact probably Diaz sees his contract out with Liverpool, maybe goes next season. I think Rio's going to get a lot more minutes. I think if you bring another winger in, you're going to stunt the growth of Rio, and I think you've got a serious player in Rio there. I know he's not proven yet, but you can already see that he's going to be very good. I see obviously a lot of people link us to Fofana from Leeds.
I'm not so sure on the Fofana one. I'm not entirely convinced.
I'm not convinced either, because with him only being 3 years older than Rio, what's the point when you've got a player?
Exactly.
It's just a waste of money, and I think keeping Diaz for me will be good, right? And here's my opposite thing to saying that. If someone comes in and gives us £65 million, then probably take it. However, is it too much change? Because the thing we forget about Diaz, he can play multiple positions, play on the right, play in the middle.
Yeah,
I feel more comfortable having him here. Like the example I said the other day on my own live stream, I said keep Diaz for another season. If they want him next season, then they can buy him. But if Liverpool win the Champions League or the Premier League this year, say Diaz goes to 40 million next year, pounds. That money that we've lost out on, we've made up in the Champions League, and we've got that we know we can trust in terms of he's going to run his socks off for Liverpool and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I mean, I'll go through some of the comments here that I've been putting up. So one of them, Paul Omen, like the name. No one rates Nunez, to be honest. Looks like LFC will loan him continuously until some dumb team buys him. I really don't think that would be the option.
Also,
yeah, Hughes will not have that. He won't go for a whole loan a season or whatever. I can't see that happening. Jake, Diaz is quality, but I don't think we'd really miss him if he goes time to cash in. So I was discussing this on the morning podcast on Monday. The thing with Diaz is, and you're right in saying, especially with Gakpo, they're complementary of each other.
Yeah.
They both have different skill sets, and they could both bring something a little bit different to the party. The problem with Diaz is, I'm trying to look at this from a business sense to say he's 2 years left on his contract. That takes him up to the age of 30. We know what the club is like when it comes to contracts over 30. It very rarely happens. That's just the mantra that the club has. Do we let him go for a free? I can't see the club doing that. Is it a priority position to sort out this season? This transfer window? No, it's not. I don't think they're even looking at the left wing position and going, no, we're good with that. We've got Diaz, we've got Gakpo, we've got Engamoa coming through. We're sorted there. Like you say, we could go on, win the league again this season, or we could go on and win the Champions League this season. Maybe even do both. Hey, wouldn't that be great? But that also brings in a hell of a lot of money. And like you say, if Diaz goes next season for 35 to 40 million, then so be it. We've made up that money that we would have lost on the 85 million, 80 million, whatever it is, valuation we put on, and we've still got that experience out of him. That, to me, I'm agreeing with you, is probably going to be the best option. Run it down to 12 months left of his contract and then say, yeah, okay, you can go. And we use next summer's transfer window to bring in, say, a superstar left winger instead.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there are tons of talented players out there that can play in that position. So it's not like we'd be struggling for a specialist. There are a lot of very, very talented attacking left midfielders at the moment. So many, like I could name an entire list that could replace him.
Yeah.
But I think the sensible option is, and they won't want to disrupt the squad too much because they already know that other players are leaving. Quanta, Elliott, Morton, those players are going to be leaving. So letting Diaz go again, especially with Nunez leaving and Chiesa as well on top of that, it's a risky move.
I'll just say one last thing on Diaz before we finish on it. Last season, Luis Diaz got 25 goals and assists. Now, go and find me a winger that's done that, left winger. There isn't many in that category. I know he's patchy, but that's still very, very good. And, you know, to pay for a winger with 25 GNA in a season, you're looking at 60, 70 million upwards.
Oh, yeah.
So, keep it in.
It's that patchiness that really annoys me now. That's the problem. Is, you know, you can see it. It's weird with Diaz as well. You can almost see a patchy part coming.
Yeah, it's mad at it.
He'll go through that phase where he'll get like goal after goal after goal in game after game after game and get a good few assists. And then he'll fluff something in one game and you go, the patch is coming.
Yeah.
You can see it. And then he'll go 6, 7, 8 games without really contributing a lot. Gakpo will come in, play a blinder, and then it is very weird. But that's what has happened.
It's like the start of the season. He was like, I completely agree with this. Barcelona, he was Liverpool's best player at the start of the season. But goals against United, he was banging them in the Champions League. He was getting hat-tricks in the Champions League at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And then he got to like November-ish, and it was just like, end of November, yeah, I just can't play now.
I think he just got tired.
Yeah, just can't score any goal. And then at the end of the season, and he had an okay patch sort of like February time, I think, if I remember rightly. And then he went cold again. And then the last 5, 6 games of the season, electric. It's just like, what? It's just bizarre.
Yeah, I can't call it. I mean, Polo Man's coming in with a good comment here. That was a barren 4 months. Well, yeah, that pretty much was, when you think about it, from November, December, January, February, like sort of up until that March point, his form did dip, and then it started coming back up again. And it's that consistency that does worry me a bit if it happens again this season. I'm hoping a Slot will.
He likes him a lot. He praises him a lot. He's a big fan.
He does.
He's a big fan of him. So I think, you know, if you can get, you know, I can't remember his numbers in the Premier League. It was around 10 goals or something like that, if I remember right.
Yeah.
If you can get, even if you can get Diaz to 15 goals next season, that is a massive thing for him. You know, if he comes out next season with more than 25 GNA in all comps, I'd be extremely happy with him. I mean, 25 GNA is brilliant already, but if he comes out even more, wow, fantastic. I think he's got it in him. I think he just needs that little bit of coaching in terms of, when you get in front of goal, lad, you don't have to do all this stupid stuff. Just shoot. It'll go in. You've got a good shot on you.
He has. He is pretty accurate.
Yeah, it's the extra touch that does him. Have you noticed? Like, you'll get in front of the goal and I'd be taking that touch, just shoot. And then when he doesn't have anything to think about, he scores. You know, like the goal against United, it stands out for me. It's a really, really good goal.
Oh, the swivel turn. And he just didn't think about it.
No, and then he scored, you know, and then the one against, you know, there's 2 goals in that, getting the hat trick actually against Leverkusen. Like, he didn't have to think about it. He just scored.
Yeah.
And I think when he doesn't have to think about it, he's fine. But, you know, I'm saying
some players are a lot better just on instinct. Nunez is another example of that. He's so much better when he doesn't have to think.
I think the thing is, though, I'm saying all this, but did you see this? Did you see the goal he scored the other week for Colombia?
Yeah. Yeah, but he has that ability as well. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He does have that ability as well. And I think, like, sort of a final point for Diaz, I wouldn't like to see him go this summer. I would like to see him stay just for one more season.
Yeah.
I do think that is the most sensible option. And that's why he's had such a high price tag put on him, to try and put people off. But at the end of the day, football is a business and every player has their price. So yes, it would be sad. But would I be surprised if the offer was large enough? No, I wouldn't be. But all in all, I would like him to stay for this season at least, just so we can get a few more dancing celebrations and pretty outstanding goals along with it as well. So let's face it, he has been brilliant for us since he first arrived. Jesus, when he came in from Porto, and not many of the fans knew much about him. I know I didn't know much about him, and then in the first few games, I was like, bloody hell,
Yeah,
we've got a bit of a baller on our hands here.
I think the injury really set him back a lot.
And obviously the family situation as well that he had back with his dad in Colombia. That's those things didn't.
He's had a rough time. Not non-Liverpool orientated, like, but he's had a rough time of like.
I can't even begin to imagine what that's like going through that and then still having to perform and play football. I think sometimes football fans get a little bit misled on like, so they're just footballers. No, they're still human beings. At the end of the day, if your mum and dad got kidnapped
you're ready
in the Colombian jungle, how are you going to react at the end of the day? It's not a nice thing to happen. Yeah, it's strange. Apparently, hang on, we've got a comment here. Catalan94 saying Barca are close to Nico Williams. Well, they're welcome to him. Absolute mercenary from what I understand.
Yeah.
And are not going in for Diaz. Well, at the end of the day, from Barcelona's perspective, if they get Nico Williams, he's basically a younger version of Diaz. And for some reason or other, they're going to have to pay him 300,000-400,000 a week. Nah, that's not sensible business. Barcelona are just doing Barcelona things at the end of the day. I don't even know how they're getting away with it. I really don't, but hey ho. Before we scoot off, I'm just going to go do a quick check and actually come across something here. Apparently, a new centre-back has been linked with us. Well, not really new, but Castello Lucaba at Leipzig. Apparently, Liverpool and Bayern Munich and Spurs, well, Spurs can chalk on because they got no chance, are all seduced by him.
New word, buzzword of the day.
Yeah, that's a different one. But he has a release clause of 78 million in his contract. Now, I do know a fair bit about Lucaba. I've watched him quite a few times play for Leipzig this season. He is a fantastic centre-back. And again, another one that's got a very, very high ceiling. But that 78 million scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
For a young centre-back, I don't think that's realistic.
50 max.
Yeah. I can't see too many teams in the world even contemplating paying that for him. No.
But I'd probably put him on the same level as Diomande, who Palace are signing. And he's going for 47 million.
Yeah.
So I'd put him on a similar level to that.
Yeah, obviously you got the likes of Diomande going to Palace for that price. I've also seen Benfica apparently have said that Antonio Silva can go this summer as well. I would love us to get Antonio Silva if we could. But again, also the other Sporting centre back, Gonzalo Inacio.
Yeah.
Another 40 to 50 million pounds. They're all. This is what I was saying on. So I can't remember when it was on, but I can't remember when we were on together or whether it was me and Damo. But I said that the one thing that you ain't got to struggle for at the moment is centre backs. There are so many young centre backs in Europe.
Yeah,
you can go out and get that are absolute quality. It's going to be quite easy to replace.
Yeah.
So a sale like Quansah, hopefully Gahey comes in, but say Canate goes this summer as well. Then maybe we go in for somebody like Antonio Silva.
I think with the Palace news today at Diomande, I think that almost confirmed that we're going to get Gahey, to be honest. I mean,
that's what it feels like.
They wouldn't be going splashing 47 million on him if they didn't know that they were going to get money for Gahey. So I think that's. I'm going to put my neck on the line. I say it'll be done in the next 10 days. I'll say that'll be done. That game. I just kind of a quiet one, isn't it? Really, Palace.
It is. I'm just looking at the calendar here. I'm trying to figure it out. Right. Okay. So we're on the Wednesday there. Yeah. By next Friday.
Mark Mondays.
Yeah, I can't do anything with the G's, but definitely with the M's. So yeah, okay, maybe the 14th or maybe next Monday. You never know. Ooh. CJ here saying, according to Anfield Watch, we've failed in our pursuit for Isak. Yeah, I won't pay any attention to that, CJ, to be fair, because at the end of the day, nobody really truly knows what's going on with the Isak deal besides only his closest confidants. And by all accounts, he is expected to turn up for pre-season next Monday when they all start back again. So we'll see what happens with that.
I think, and I've said this, I think we will put a bid in for Isak, but I think it'll be not till towards the end of the window. So I'd say maybe let's say how long's left the window? Is it 4 weeks left? I think is there.
Hang on. No, because the window runs to the. Isn't it running to the first game of the season now?
I think it does. Yeah.
So I think we've got about 5-6 weeks of it left, something like that.
You know, I obviously read a lot of things saying that he's going to go to pre-season and then make a decision. Then I think that probably makes a bit more sense.
Yeah.
You know, the big thing with Newcastle, they can't sign a sausage at the minute. They can't even sign anything. They can't sign anyone. Xavi Simons turned them down. Elanga's turned them down. João Pedro's turned them down.
João Pedro decided to go to the biggest squad in the world, and God, I really don't understand that.
Who else is down? And Mbeumo turned them down as well. There's literally 5 or 6 players there. That's
yeah.
So what's
it's a difficult one because, like you say, they've put a high valuation on him, and the only way, and I agree, sort of what Jen has said here, is Isak will only come if he pushes it. I agree. I think he is going to push it, but I think he's just waiting to see what's happening with Newcastle at the moment, because, like you said, they're not financial difficulties, but because they're trying to adhere to the FFP, PSR, whatever you want to call it, and now they're in into European football again. They have another set of financial regulations that they have to abide by, and they're basically just trying to spin all their plates.
Yeah.
And trying to keep all them going whilst trying to watch out for teams coming in for their star players like us. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Newcastle's still a business, and Isak has his price, and we still have the money for it at the end of the day.
So, if you look at it like this is what I'm sort of looking at now. The people it's only getting rejected. But Newcastle need to strengthen the squad. Behind the first player, there's not much quality in behind that.
They ain't got a lot of depth.
Callum Wilson, left wing's okay. Harvey Barnes and Gordon, that's fine. Yeah. Left back and right backs, Livramento and Lewis Ford, they got Trippier as cover. Centre backs, the cover is not good. Lascelles with Fabian Schär, who's injury prone, and Botman, which I've barely seen play 5 games in a row. I mean, they've got to sort the keeper out now. They're going to get Trafford, which is good because Nick Pope's miles off it. But midfield's okay. But apart from that, they need at least 4 or 5 players. You know, if we're in another 3 weeks' time and Newcastle have not signed anyone, Isak's going to start looking at his options, isn't he? He's going to go, we're going to stay here and struggle to get into top 4 again and struggle in Europe, or am I going to go and potentially win the Champions League and potentially win the league again? So,
at the end of the day, a playing career is a short career.
It is, yeah.
And it's one of them. He is going to have to seriously think about it. I mean, he finished on 66 points last season, in 5th spot, only 3 points behind Chelsea, which is still weird to say, seeing as how up and down they were. But it was their form through that middle part of the season when it was a bit patchy and they did lose a few players to injury and they didn't have that depth. And you're quite right in saying, because they don't have that depth, they've got to address that this summer. Mm. But if they can't address it, then Isak's got to look at it and go, we are going to struggle this season.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have European football on top of cup competitions and the league. They already know after one season how taxing that is.
Yeah, I mean they didn't even qualify. They've never qualified. Newcastle never qualified for the Champions League back to back. They've never done that. They've never top 4 place. You know, if they kept Isak, they could maybe do that again. But I keep saying like, you know, it'll look more pretty to Newcastle. Like, oh, we can't sign any players. If we sell him for 125, 130, 140 million, and we've got 3 weeks left of the window, we can buy whoever we want. You know, we can get whoever we want in for them covering.
Yeah.
You know, and I think as a whole, like, you know, it is like Coutinho sort of thing for us. You know, we made
just about to say that.
Better though by selling. You know, at the time it's shit, we're losing our best player, but we made the squad better. We brought Alisson, we brought Van Dijk, and the team was so much better.
Yeah.
You know, if Newcastle go out and get them 3 players at 4 or 5 players they need, they'll be laughing. They'll be talking about this in 2 years, going, "Oh, we've been in the Champions League 3 seasons in a row, 2 seasons in a row." You know, like that's what they want because they do that. They're a more attractive club. You know, rather than going in 1 year, out 1 year, in one. It's not.
Exactly. The consistency will attract more players. That's just a fact. At the end of the day, if you're consistently in the top competitions, then you're going to attract those players in.
Yeah.
Parliament has said that it's cold up there. Well, you do realise, Parliament, that he is Swedish, and it gets pretty cold there, to be fair. So I don't think that's too much of a bother for him. It's definitely not as cold in Newcastle as it is in Sweden. I can attest to that. But he does have another question here. If we can't get Isak, who would guarantee us goals, Osimhen or Gyökeres? Both of them would, actually, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But out of those two, I would actually pick Osimhen.
Do you know what? I agree. Osimhen's a bit of a bad egg in terms of the way he acts a little bit, like De Niro, you know.
Yeah.
But I think there's less of a risk with Osimhen than there is with Gyökeres. I think you could get Gyökeres in and, you know, he could, like, get you 4 goals in a season. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's that risk. Whereas Osimhen, you know he's going to come in and get you 20 goals. Like, I think there's no, because he's going to, you know, I've watched him a lot when he was at Napoli, but I watched him when he was at Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce?
Galatasaray.
Oh my God!
Oh, Jesus, like any Turkish on it? I apologise.
But I was talking about before going to Fenerbahce, John Durant. That's why it stuck in my head. But yeah, I watched him against Spurs. He had about 10 shots, just blasting him, and I was like, yeah, he's game. He loves shooting. You know, I like that about him, and his movement's very good as well. He links up play as well, actually.
Yeah.
I think there's less risk, but Gyökeres, not for me, to be honest.
I'll say Osimhen is either one of them, should I say, I'll be happy with. Yeah. But I think Osimhen just edges it for me. I don't know why. There's just something about him that I like over Gyökeres. I just can't quite put my finger on it. It's just one of those things. You fancy some football players, others you don't. And you just can't explain why. But looking at the time, I'm going to have to wrap things up there. So just before we go, thank you very much for watching, guys. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. As I say, we're pushing towards the 1,000 mark now. So make sure you sub. Make sure you share this channel around. Thank you very much, Naz, for joining us. And thank you very much to all of you watching. And we'll catch you in the next video.